What is up and how's it going? Welcome into episode 35 of the Noble Steady Sorta Sports Recap Show. I'm your host, Tyler, with my main man, Joey. It's just us two today. We're taking it back old school for those who have been following along since the inception of this channel. It is just me and Joey breaking down sports today. Shane O'Mac is on vacation, but we'll be back next time. But with all that being said, Joey, how you doing today, buddy?
Oh man, this pollen sucks. Pollen sucks. Okay, like I walk outside and I just smell it, and it just all of a sudden my nose is like a faucet.
Yeah.
But I told Tyler before we got on here, I had the worst sneeze fit ever, and I just I hate this time of year. When I was a kid, when I was in high school, I used to run track, and we would have a track meet at City Park, at Tag Gormley. It was All-State Sugar Bowl track meet, and I would run that, and then I couldn't go to practice for the next week because my allergies were so bad. So
Well,
I hate this time of year.
I mean, are we sure that it's just not you didn't want to go to practice? I think that's the main takeaway from the story.
I enjoyed practice, even though it was just track and you were just running. We found ways to make it fun. Like, and I was a distance runner. So whenever we did distance running, like I would take a tennis ball and we would just throw the tennis ball to each other while we're running.
Yeah.
Just to kind of
Break
keep
up the
us moving,
monotony.
keep us in the flow. Yeah. And didn't have Bluetooth headphones at that point, like AirPods. So couldn't exactly run around with my phone in the middle of the field to listen to music. So
Yeah. No, I mean that's a very fair point. A lot of them.
back then I just had the iPod Touch just to
Oh,
kind of date myself a little bit.
back in my day.
Back in my
Uh,
day.
but no, yeah, it's definitely peak pollen season down here. We're having a lot of fun down here in the South. But let's jump like. So speaking of the South, we're gonna cover what everybody's waiting for us to cover at the time of this recording, and we're gonna get there. We're gonna make you wait a little bit for it. We're gonna go over some basketball, some hockey first, and then we'll get into it.
I could feel the disturbance in the force when the news came of what we're going to talk about later. Tyler, like it almost felt like thousands of younglings just their life force just diminishing because he was so angry.
Oh,
So
yeah, that was yeah.
yeah.
So
So
let's leave the teaser there. And
his rant will be a little more epic than mine. I could tell you that.
look, I've had a few days to sit on it and kind of devour the news and but yeah, for those of you who don't know, we're talking about Derek Carr injury. We'll get to it a little bit later, but we're going to talk about some greatness first, away from that mediocrity that is that quarterback, that is Derek Carr. Let's talk about greatness, Joey. And you know who I want to talk about? I want to talk about Ovechkin, and I want to talk about the fact that he broke the scoring record in the NHL that was held by no one other than Wayne Gretzky, the great one. Joey, paint me a picture. Let the people know the significance of it, the epicness that was or is his career that's still ongoing. I don't want to take it away from it. He didn't retire on the spot, but
No.
Go ahead, Joey.
He's still got 1 year left on his deal, so that scoring record is going to get greater and greater.
Yeah.
Yes, the great eight has passed the great one in scoring in the regular season. I had to check that because I did not to take away from the record because it is a feat to behold. But if you take playoffs and regular season, he's still not there yet. But clearly, no one counts postseason in anything. Like none of that counts.
Well,
Which I get
hard,
because
right?
it's yeah. I mean, you look at Wayne Gretzky, he's got how many Stanley Cups and he's made it to the dance almost every year of his career. It's it's still a phenomenal feat. 895 goals in the NHL is no easy task. I think the next active player is at like 661. And I think that's Sidney Crosby.
I believe so. I'll
So, they have the game. I want to say it was the Friday night. Yeah, it was Friday night in Washington.
Yes.
He tied the record there with Wayne Gretzky in attendance, and the whole team came out, celebrated the goal, and good on the NHL because they know how to celebrate greatness. It's a real, it's a brotherhood, the NHL, and they go out, they sit there, try to rip each other's heads off in game on the ice, and then when they're off the ice, it's hey, we're a fraternity. We're the only ones in the world that say we play in the NHL, and the greatest hockey league in the world at that. So he breaks a record. He ties a record at home, travels to Long Island, play the Islanders, which I think is actually in Flushing, close
It's
to
something like
where,
that.
yeah, it's right next to where the U.S. Open takes place. So they play there. He breaks the record on a power play goal, an actual really awesome power play
It
goal.
was right. It seemed kind of fitting.
It was, you know, that one-time slap shot that he's known for, beat the goalie near side, and a goalie that he has never scored on, mind you. He was, and I loved after he broke the record. He slid on his chest. Everybody came out. They stopped the game for a good 15 minutes to celebrate the record. Let his family down on the ice and not even in Washington. It was at the Islanders arena,
Yep.
and the Islanders could have said no, we're not doing that, but they recognized the greatness that happened, and everyone said, they celebrated him, they congratulated him. Hey, I still got to play you for another 50 minutes of game time, but let's stop and celebrate you and congratulate you on the record. And it was, it was awesome to watch. Kenny Albert on the call for TNT does a fantastic job for them.
Mm-hmm.
To bring up the argument that we had on another podcast about good booths in sports.
It's never an argument, Joey. Never an argument.
Yeah.
Just a lively debate.
But just being able to witness that and sit there and say, I saw the greatest goal scorer ever. And let me tell you something. He is not by any means like the most fit, the most like his diet consists of a big plate of chicken parm the day of a game.
Hey, in fairness, though, chicken parm is pretty delicious.
It is. When you see him drinking stuff on the bench, that's Pepsi. When you hear about him in the locker room or in the dressing room during intermission, he's drinking Dr. Pepper. He, in his words, poots vodka and beer, Russian vodka, mind you. He said Russian vodka. I don't know what that means. And when he's on his team flights, he has a Subway sandwich and flaming hot Cheetos to feed him on the flight. So by no means a picture of, every dietitian that just heard this is now quivering because like, oh my God, you can't go by that. So, but congratulations to
dietitian.
Yeah. Congratulations to Alexander Ovechkin on breaking the record. Congratulations to Wayne Gretzky for holding the record as long as he did. And I'll tell you this much, seeing the humility and the humbleness that Wayne Gretzky had for Alex breaking the record. I'd seen an interview that Gretzky did where he said when he broke Gordie Howe's record, Mr. Hockey.
Yeah, Mr. Hockey himself.
He was like, I'm embarrassed to break this record. And his dad goes, have you lost your mind? You go out there, you break that record, and then when somebody comes and breaks your record, you show that person the same humility and grace that Gordie Howe has showed you. And let me tell you, seeing that, it's like that you don't get enough of that in sports. You get the most famous broken record right now that was going around for a minute was the sack record. And I get that a little bit, but like, dude, he broke your record. Just let it alone.
They're meant to be broken. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, I guess if you're Mark Gastineau, that's really your only, like, you're a great sack
claim
artist.
To fame. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't want to say only claim because he was a really good player, but it's just, he really kind of blew that up for no reason. And it was bullshit. It was BS with Michael Strahan, but you know what? It is what it is.
Yeah.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off, but I did want to ask you real quick. I'm sure the humility is really easy to have too if you're Wayne Gretzky when they call you the great one.
Yes.
Like you're solidified. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But no, hats off to him. Class act the way he went. I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead, Joey.
But I love that. He said to the crowd in New York, like when I broke the record, Gordie Howe's wife gave my wife a gift. I think he said what it was. And so he says, so what we're going to do is we're going to, pass that tradition along. My wife has a gift for Alex's wife. And Alexis watched it, and she's like, "That's a Cartier bag." I'm like, "You realize how much money that they make? It's a lot. So yes, it's going to be an expensive gift." You know,
um,
I did laugh that Wayne Gretzky did come out and say, like, when I broke the record, they got me a Rolls Royce. So he looked at the Capitals owner like, so you might want to start thinking about what car you're getting, Alex. And you see Alex Ovechkin go like, huh? Huh? Hey.
I mean, hey, look, I agree with him. You should definitely get something for it.
And
But
the,
for those who
and the thing that
wondering,
was cool before you keep going, the thing that was
yeah.
cool to me was the day he tied the record, they had a player on the Capitals that scored his first NHL goal. And so
Oh,
after
very
the
nice.
game, Wayne went into the dressing room and he's like, "Where's the guy that scored his first goal?" And he said, "That's me." And so Wayne Gretzky congratulated him on his first goal in the NHL and said, "You only got 895 to go."
Oh, that's amazing.
And you
But
see and you see when he breaks the record, like something I don't know if I don't think you saw it. I don't know if you saw it.
I didn't see it live. I saw the
When
replay.
they had the, they did the little ceremony, he goes off to the bench and he's taking off equipment to send off to the Hockey Hall of Fame.
Yep.
His jersey, helmet, gloves, everything. And they're like, okay, this stick, he had to find a new stick, which they have like 7 of them on hand.
Yeah, I was about to say.
So, but I thought that was really cool to watch and witness. You don't get that in many other sports.
No, you know what you get? You get a laminated piece of paper that you can't even do anything with. But no, it was class.
I think the main reason. Okay, so I
I'm just
I've thought about it, about that issue, and I agree that they did it wrong. But I think part of the problem is they knew that record was about to be broken again because it was a neck and neck fight between him and Brady.
yeah, but still, man.
I'm assuming. So they're just like, why waste all the pop and circumstance on a player when it's about to get broken again and all that? Whereas with the NHL record, nobody's even coming close to breaking 894 goals.
The question you asked earlier about who Crosby has 624.
Okay.
So to put that in perspective. And the gift from Gordie Howe's wife to Gretzky's wife was a diamond ring. So they ain't playing around.
No.
It's about Rolls. Where's his money coming from in hockey, man?
The
Rolls Royces?
The NHL team that he was on when he broke the record, I want to say it might have been the Rangers. They make pretty good money in New York. So that's why he was able to get the Rolls.
Yes.
For
if it was somewhere else, it'd be a Volkswagen Beetle or something.
The best part is, so the best part is the most famous goal that Alex Ovechkin is known for scoring was on the color commentator for the game, Brian Boucher, where he's skating down the ice. He pretty much almost went coast to coast. He fell. He's on his back, and he just does this, and he scored the goal. Okay. Do you know who the coach of the Arizona Coyotes was at that time?
It was Gretzky.
Wayne Gretzky.
Yep.
So
yep.
You had 2 people who witnessed probably one of the best goals ever scored in the NHL in that building, involved in his record-breaking goal.
It's crazy how the universe kind of works out like that, right? Like, but I do want to say hats off to Ovechkin for finally getting it done. I mean, you could tell like the excitement that he had and everything like that. But there's also a sense of relief there. For the longest time, it's been building. But
I feel like they were bringing Wayne Gretzky out to all the games so that when he broke the record, he could be there. I feel like at some point Wayne Gretzky was like, "Can you just break this record already so I can stop traveling? Like, I enjoy NHL games, but damn, like,
I need a break. I retired because I didn't want to do this anymore.
That's why I do TV in a studio where we don't leave. I might have to fly to Atlanta every week, but damn.
I just want to go. I just want to be in my home, man.
Yeah.
Oh man, but yeah, it's class act. NHL, you did it right all the way around on this one. We'll give you your praises on this. I know we cover a lot of football and everything like that. We're gonna be diving deep into the NHL playoffs, which are coming up soon. We're about to talk about that right now. With the NBA playoffs starting soon. I think Thursday as well for them with the play-in tournament.
The play-in tournament to me needs to go away. I think they need to get rid of that.
Okay, let's jump into it right now.
Yeah.
In the concept of it, I got the idea because we're reaching a point where basically the last 2 weeks of the NBA season were worthless because all these teams were eliminated. I got the idea, but man, it kind of waters down the play-in tournament. I mean the playoffs itself. You know what I mean? It's just
it doesn't make it a special. It's like, oh look, we have this tournament that's like a week before the playoffs start. So then you have the teams that are playoff teams. Yes, they get a well-deserved break, but like, it was a good idea because of COVID. In case, hey, this game didn't, they canceled these games because of an outbreak within the organization. So just to kind of give those teams that have that gap of play a chance to make it.
Well,
it doesn't. Now that you have the in-season tournament, you can get rid of the play-in tournament.
Well, you're trying to draw more eyes to it. You're trying to get more attention to the product and just have not that dead zone right before the end of the season. But like I said, it waters it down a little bit. And the problem is you have all these tournaments. It's hard to care about them, right? Like the in-season tournament, you essentially, when it's just money the players get, there's no investment for the fans, right? You could be like, woo, 2025 in-season tournament winner.
Well, I think that comes from the fact that it's so young. It's only the second year. Maybe you do that instead of the All-Star game. Maybe that's the fix. Maybe you sit there and you go, hey, we're going to have a week of All-Star break, and it's going to be the semifinals and the finals of that.
Everybody else gets a week off.
Yeah, everyone else gets, or you have 2 dates within, that way you have, the same number of games all the way around, right?
Yeah.
You have 2 dates where it's like, okay, teams that didn't make it to the semifinals and the final, this is your game. Like, this is your date you play against a team that's equally ranked on the other side. And, for the finals, they each get 2 games. And that's the thing that kind of bugs me a little bit is you can make every game count, including that final. Because that's the biggest awkward moment is that in-season tournament final doesn't count against your record.
Yeah.
It's just a bonus game. So congratulations, you were good enough to win this tournament, but you have to play an extra game. That doesn't count.
The only issue I can see with that, Joey, and I agree with you 100%, is that, and I'm sure they can do this, is the problem is that how would you know who's going to be those last few teams, like who's going to be the teams that play in the final, right? You would have to do some kind of form of flex scheduling.
So that's what you would do. You would have you would have basically 2 games that are flexed with no opponent. Okay.
Yeah.
And you go, all right, so say the Pelicans, they don't qualify for the semifinal, but let's say that they match up against the Indiana Pacers. Okay.
Mm-hmm. I'm with you.
You have a home and home. Those are your 2 games. It doesn't matter that you're in different conferences and you play 4 times. That's your games.
Okay.
Deal with it. Then for the teams that make it to the knockout round, the semifinal and the final, they have 2 games left. Their semifinal matchup. If you win, you play in the final. If you lose, you play in the 3rd place game. That way you have everybody playing the same number of games.
Okay. No,
that way you don't have this awkward, hey, we have 1 game that doesn't count for anything. But you can still have it by itself. Like you can still leave it on a thing of its own.
I guess my thinking is that it's not so much like the game, like, and I agree with everything you said about the games. Like, it's a weird, wonky way they have it scheduled and everything like that. I guess my thing is, though, why should the players care because they get a bonus, right? They get extra cash incentive. Why should the fans care? Why is this
and that's for the NBA to fix? I think, in all honesty, they're trying to get a deal with European clubs for basketball. The NBA is. Mm-hmm. This is how I think you can fix it. Have a true world championship.
I was about to say a showcase almost.
Have a, hey, you made, you finished, you take the teams that make it to the conference finals. Then you take the teams in Europe that finish top 4 in their league. Mm-hmm. Do UEFA Champions League. It's the easiest fix I can think of. You do a mini league, you could lower the number of games regular season because I think 82 games. I think 82 games is kind of.
It's the almighty dollar, man.
I think you can make more money with that European tournament than you
I don't
can
disagree with you.
the
I think what
in-season
you
tournament.
here would be my idea, right? Have your in-season tournament with the NBA, okay?
Mm-hmm.
How it's currently structured now. You have that. The top 2 teams from that. You have the Euro League, whoever you're partnering with, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And those 2 top teams. So basically, they're playing that final game just to be the NBA in-season tournament champion, EuroLeague in-season champion, and then you're going to have your Worlds, if you want to call it Worlds, or however you want to
Mm-hmm.
call it, right? And have those 4 play against each other in a little mini tournament, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I feel like you can get more fan investment because you get an international market. You get the conversation. I believe it was Noah Lyles not too long
Yeah,
ago.
there's
The
no true
runner,
world champion because you're playing everyone in the United States.
and that's fine.
Yeah.
That's fine. That's a way you can, but you piggyback off that argument, right?
Yeah.
You're like, okay, cool. You want to decide it? Let's see how it goes. Because you'll get a cool blend of, because the games are not, they're not as different as they used to be, but there's some still slight differences the way they play and everything. And you'd have to figure it out. But you have FIBA World Championships, you have other World Championships.
You have the
Yeah.
Olympics, you have the FIBA World Cup, you have ways that it can work. I think soccer shows it the best way of how you can make a world championship work. They have the Club World Cup now.
Yeah.
You know, they've had it for years, but it's the biggest it's ever been. And they have multiple clubs from multiple continents coming to America to decide who is the true world champion club. You don't
Man.
have that in basketball. You have, you're the NBA champions. And I think that's where Noah Lyles gets aggravated. That's where, I kind of see his argument in that where, I call myself a world champion. Okay, who did you play? Well, I played New York, Boston,
Okay. Hear me out. Hear me out.
Texas, like that kind of stuff.
Hear me out. But if you have the best international players coming to play in this league, then you see what I'm saying? If it's already recognized that this is the top league in the world, which it is,
Mm-hmm.
which it is, then I feel like you can make that argument. But we'll digress into that because there's valid points on each side. Like there's look, if you want to be completely factual by geographic location, yes, it is technically only a North American tournament or a North American league. Okay. And if you want to get around that by just calling it an NBA championship, cool. I'm not fighting with people on that one. Like, I'm not disagreeing with you. Factually, you are correct. Geographically, it is North American championship.
Like, that's one of the things that, like, I think the NHL has it right. And I know, like, again, I'm gonna be said, I'm showing favoritism and all that. When you win the championship in hockey, you are the Stanley Cup champion.
That's
like
fine.
that's what it is. You're not the NHL champion. You're not a world champion. You're a Stanley Cup champion. They have elevated that trophy to such a high regard that it is the name of the trophy as you are the champion of, not the league, not the planet. I am a Stanley Cup champion. It'd be like the NFL. I'm a Vince Lombardi champion, but they don't call that game the Vince Lombardi final. They call it the Super Bowl. So you're Super Bowl champions.
Yeah.
Like that kind of thing.
And look, and there's some aspects like when I will say I will disagree with people here that are like, well, calling yourself world champion in the NFL, who are you play? You just all the get out of here because there is no real competitive football in the world besides the NFL.
So then that's where that argument happens of why are you world champions just because you're the only ones that do it?
I mean, if you're the only people in the world that are doing it, I am factually correct in saying world champion.
But who did you play in that world championship? You played every team from America.
But there's nobody else in the okay. Look, we'll get the Japanese football league to come over and play the Eagles, and we'll see what happens.
I'm sure that it like.
Okay,
I don't doubt that that's what would happen. I do not doubt at all that would happen,
Joey. At this point,
for argument's sake,
you're just being a contrarian.
Yes. For argument's sake, why can't you just be Super Bowl champions?
Oh, I agree, but people will take it out of. Will say world champion.
You take the.
Man, we are getting on a whole different level here.
We are. How big is the Super Bowl? It's argued to be the biggest sporting event in the world.
Yes,
they're wrong, but they're argued that it's the biggest sporting event in the world.
I'll give you this: biggest sporting event in the world that happens every year.
That happens every year.
That happens every year.
I had this lined up one day.
No, because I'll give you the World Cup. I will give you the World Cup. It is a bigger event than the Super Bowl, but it happens every 4 years. I'll throw you a
Oh,
bone on
I
that one.
got you one. No, I got you one. The UEFA Champions League, hands down, is the biggest sporting event in the world, and that happens literally every year.
We'd have to look at okay, just for the sake of being fair. Okay, how are we judging by biggest in the world? Are we going TV
Most
numbers?
viewed.
Most viewed? Well, okay, but are you going TV numbers? You going clips on YouTube? You going streaming numbers? Like that's where I'm saying.
As of 2024, the most watched sporting events in the world.
Okay.
The World Cup,
Mm-hmm.
5 billion viewers.
Yep.
The Tour de France, 3.5 billion viewers. It's more Europe. It's more everywhere else. It's more popular everywhere else.
Oh, I'm just saying it wasn't even on my radar. That's just on me.
The Cricket World Cup, 2.6 billion viewers. It's big. It's again bigger everywhere else.
Yeah. No. I'm agree. I'm not saying anything.
The women's World Cup, which is every 4 years. I think the Cricket World Cup is also every 4 years, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. The Summer and Winter Games every 4 years. So I get that. The first event, aside from the Tour de France, that's every year. The UEFA Champions League final, 450 million viewers.
The Super
Bowl is 115.1 million.
Yeah. I'll give you that.
The UEFA Champions League final is a bigger sporting event than the Super Bowl. The only reason you don't see about it is because typically it happens at like 1 p.m. on a Saturday.
Oh, it's a cultural thing.
Super Bowl, the Super Bowl, it's like what other sports are playing during the Super Bowl? None, because they know everyone wants to watch it for either A, the game, B, the halftime show, or C, the commercials, because of how much goes into it.
Oh, yeah, of course. And I knew, I had a feeling it wasn't going to be, I knew there's possibly soccer somewhere that was over the top. Didn't realize it was that big. I'm also a soccer novice, so don't come at me in the comments on that one. But
you are okay. So you are what Europeans and world fans see an American fan as, and it's not a knock. No, it's not a knock.
No,
you watched football growing up. You watched basketball growing up. Like that's your lane. You know, I played a sport that wasn't necessarily the most popular in America, but everywhere else in the world, it is the most popular sport. Maybe second to cricket, which I still don't get cricket, but it's just because I don't know the rules of cricket. They talk
I couldn't tell you either.
They talk about games that last 4 days. I'm like, how the hell does that happen?
But also, you got to look at the pot, like where cricket's at. It's just in that area. There's a large population, right?
There is a cricket field that has been built in northwest of Houston, I think. And when I saw that, I was like, this is such a random place to have a cricket. Like it's saying that this is for cricket in Texas, in football heaven. I was confused. I'm driving down the interstate and I look and I go, what the hell is this?
What's that little football field doing there?
Why is there a big circle field that says cricket on it?
But Joey, let me drive this back to Ovechkin, because we're talking a little bit before we got on air today about, and I'll preface this. Look, I used to love watching ESPN as a kid growing up. I mean, it was literally on my TV nonstop. I think we've reached a point now where sports media or ESPN has really backed the idea and thought of, if it doesn't get clicks or impressions, it's not worthy journalism, right? Like, for example, Around the Horn. I used to love that show. I loved
that show.
It is now, granted, the way we consume media, we're part of the problem here. We do it through YouTube and everything like that. The numbers went down. They're canceling the show. And unfortunately, I think another one's going to be right behind it. And then not too long, it's probably going to be, pardon the interruption, but which I'd be really sad to go. I love Kornheiser and Wilbon. It's just the issue is now is that it's all about reactions and getting impressions and everything. So it always has to be a debate, right? What's going to have legs and be viral and it's going to get most people talking and everything. And look, and I respect it. We're basically here doing the same thing, but I'm going to give it to you objectively. The way ESPN talks about LeBron and has to compare everybody to LeBron or talk about Bronny and everything, it's nauseating. We were talking about right, like I said, we're talking about right before we came on about how why is it even really a debate on who's greater, LeBron or Ovechkin in their accomplishment? First of all, it's two different games. Second of all, let's just appreciate they're both great in what they've done. About 99.9% of the rest of the population couldn't do and accomplishments that they've done. Let's just appreciate that. At least that's my opinion. We have some numbers to break it down, but I know you want to say something else about it. But I want to give that kind of preface before we jumped into it.
So to set it up, it was, I think it's First Take is Stephen A. Smith and Shannon Sharp. So,
and this isn't a smear campaign on either one of those.
Ovechkin,
it's just the fact of what it is.
Ovechkin breaks the record. It's great. We're happy. We're celebrating. So they have PK Subban, who works for ESPN, former hockey player, on to talk about it. And you have I can't remember the host's name. She's got a UConn jersey on because UConn just won the national title. And hey, congratulations to the women's basketball program for winning another national title. So she's on there, and the question comes up, and it's not her question. ESPN people who make the show have sat down and said, this is what I want to talk about.
It's Molly Karen, by the way.
And they ask, okay.
Yeah.
And they ask, whose record is more impressive, LeBron James's scoring record or Alexander Ovechkin's scoring record? Before we talk about this, I'm going to say LeBron James's scoring record is a feat. It is something that should be celebrated. It deserves the celebration that Ovi got for his. ESPN is what is making LeBron haters, I feel like, the most. If it's not LeBron, it's not getting clips. It's not getting, any of that. The problem I have is the way that Shannon Sharp and Stephen A. were talking about the records is that it's not even a discussion. LeBron James's record is so much more impressive because of the longevity of his career and this and that and whatever. PK Subban goes in, ever the professional that he is. This dude is making a name for himself in ESPN for going against the NBA, which he loves the NBA.
Yeah.
But he has made a name for himself as the guy that, hey, we need to compare the NBA and the NHL. Go on. And they've basically thrust that upon him. And he's made, chicken salad out of chicken shit with that. From the Four Nations face-off, talking about the All-Star game in the NBA, like, how do you compare the record thing? He sat there and said, you look at Alexander Ovechkin and his career. How many games has he missed? I have the numbers here. He's missed a total of 35 games in his career. They hit the piss out of each other in the NHL. Typically, he's the one delivering the shots. Earlier this season, Ovi broke his leg. He missed 5 weeks. If in basketball, if you have a hangnail, you're out for a month. For some players,
like I said, it's a completely different game and mentality.
You can't compare the two. This comparison that they have. There's no wonder that Major League Baseball ended their contract with the ESPN this early. It's because that's what we're talking about. We're talking about what's better, this scoring record or that scoring record. I get you can have an opinion of it. My opinion is I think they're both equally great. I think Ovechkin's is a little more impressive considering the fact of how physical the sport of hockey is and, how much of a beating their bodies take on a weekly basis, sometimes a daily basis. Now, LeBron's is impressive because of how many deep runs into the playoffs has he made. Yeah. There was a solid, 8 years he made it to the NBA Finals every year?
2010 to the 2017 season, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm not going to take away from that. That's impressive enough. And I think the first year he didn't make it. Didn't they get eliminated in the second round or something?
So the first year that LeBron made it, it was a second round. So he didn't make it his first 2 years. Yeah. We broke down the numbers. I think they both missed the playoffs, I think, a solid 4 times each in their career. LeBron does have a little bit more deep playoff runs just because of, just facts. But I think it was the first year he made the second round, and I want to say the first year he made the playoffs was his third year, and then the year after that is when they made that run against to the finals to the then where they got swept by the Spurs, right, where he had that insane fourth quarter overtime against the Pistons where he scored, I think, 28 of the last 29 points or something like that of the game for the Cavs. So yeah, that was the birth of LeBron. But yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. It's wear and tear on the body for different reasons for these guys, clearly. But let's not act like the longevity's not there for both of them, right? Ovechkin was drafted in 04. LeBron
he was drafted in 04. He was drafted in 04, but his rookie year was 05 because they had a lockout in 04.
But what I'm saying is, still, okay, even if you want to say his rookie year was 05.
Yeah.
That's 20 years. So you can't make the longevity argument. You could say LeBron's is more impressive, and I agree because of the deep playoff runs, but that doesn't discount Ovechkin's. It's like, hey, one of the greatest just physical athletes of all time was able to do all these play all these games and stuff like that. It doesn't take away from a guy who's still phenomenal and at the top of his game. It doesn't need to be a detract either or.
If
that makes sense.
It makes me laugh because you think about LeBron, like where he's at now. He's doing, proper dieting. He's got, they're doing the acupuncture needling, the cup therapy, like all these things. And you have Alexander Ovechkin who's drinking beer and vodka every day and eating big plates of chicken parm and drinking soft drinks on the bench and all that stuff. It's like, to me, that almost makes Alexander Ovechkin's record just a little bit more impressive because yes, he's getting some of the same treatment that LeBron could get available to him, but he's just like, I rush and I go out, I go on ice and smash, and that's it, and score goals.
I just don't think that I'm trying not to play that into it. You know what I mean? I'm just talking strictly on court, on ice kind of stuff.
It makes the people who have shit diets feel a little bit better about themselves. Okay,
that's what it is.
I'm trying to make them feel a little bit better.
Okay, I can agree with that. I can go with that.
But again, the main reason I bring this up and I fight for this is stop comparing LeBron to everything. Let him have his record. It's impressive. Let everyone else have their record. If somebody breaks, I'm trying to think of it, let's say somebody breaks Hank Aaron's home run record. Or is it? No, not Hank Aaron. Who has it right now?
Barry Bonds.
Barry Bonds. If somebody breaks Barry Bonds' home run record, are we going to compare that to LeBron James? Get out of here. At that point, if that happens, they need to shut ESPN down for a month and say, stop bringing this up. Try something different.
It all comes down to this needless debate for people. So it's like people that watch Jordan exclusively are like, Jordan's the best ever.
Yeah.
And people that have watched LeBron exclusively, LeBron's the best ever. We just need to stop. First of all, it's two different games, and just appreciate the greatness that we're watching. You know what I mean? Because LeBron's not going to play probably that much longer. The man's going to be he's in his 40s. Appreciate what we got left.
He'll retire within the next 3 years.
Let's appreciate one of the greatest basketball players of all time. And I'll still go down this, probably the most gifted athlete that we've probably ever seen. And that's not a knock to Jordan or anybody, but the guy's 6'9", built like a shit brick house, and is a gazelle.
I think the difference.
I don't want to say gazelle, but he's just speed is incredible.
The difference is mentality with LeBron and Jordan. I think that's the biggest thing. When when the game's on the line for a minute, LeBron didn't want the ball in his hands. There was a moment where he was known as LeBron's only got 3/4 in him. That's just the mentality at the time. But he had great players around him. He had Ray Allen. He had Dwight Howard. He had, Dwayne
Wade. We can go down the list. You know what I mean? But it's just
he had the people around him that could easily take the game over. Michael, who did he have?
Pippen? Scottie Pippen, Dennis Rodman, Kukoc.
Yeah, so
Steve Kerr, he had some players on his team.
He had some players, but it was when you look at back then, it's it's MJ.
Yeah, look, MJ came.
The biggest moments that MJ has, a lot of them are end of game shots.
I don't
The
disagree
one
with you.
the one over the Jazz where he broke the dude's
Yeah.
ankles and put it in. You see that. You don't see, I don't think you see the block with LeBron, but when did that happen? 3 minutes left in the game?
You talk about the one against Golden State?
Yeah.
But in
Where
fairness, that was
he chased the ball down and blocked it, which is a fantastic play. Great
well
defense.
in context too. Let's put the context there. That was basically the momentum swing of them coming back from a 3-1 deficit.
That was the series swing.
Swing. Yeah.
But
I got you though. I got you.
Yeah.
But look, we can talk LeBron all day. We have plenty of time to do that. But Joe, I think it's time. I'm itching. Look, I think I've done very well to get 40 minutes into this.
Should I introduce this?
You can.
So then that way you can kind of gather your thoughts a little more on what you want to say about it.
On it. I have my thoughts on it.
So the Saints restructured Derek Carr's contract. He has said multiple times he doesn't want to be here. And it comes out this week that
let's be fair. There's reports. He never came out and said he doesn't want to be here. It was reports. I want to be fair to all the Carr lovers out there.
Yeah, he moved. He doesn't people are saying that he doesn't want to be here.
His actions
are showing he doesn't want to be here.
That he doesn't want to be here. We'll be fair. We'll be judicial with it.
So news came out this week that he may have a shoulder injury that will keep him from playing this year. And that's when talk of, the Saints' ninth pick is going to be hot. And the right people are tweeting it and the right people are liking it. So things are coming out about that point to the Saints drafting a quarterback. Tyler, on the other hand, when he heard that news, remember I said that disturbance in the forest? We're going to let that out. We're going to show you the younglings he's murdered, for lack of a better term, to continue using the Star Wars references.
Look.
What's your opinion on this, Tyler?
Very confused, okay? After the initial anger has kind of lingered away. So we still don't have a firm, definitive, at time recording, a firm, definitive cause of this shoulder injury. All we have is that it was known. So it was known that he wasn't going to play this year, or possibly can miss time this year. And we still guaranteed his money. We still restructured his contract. And look, I can already see the comment section. Well, that was the only way we can get cap compliant and everything like that. Okay, that's fine. But if he can't pass a physical, why are we giving him more money? If the injury didn't happen on the field or in training or anything like that, then why is he getting the money? That the contract should be voided at that point. Unless this is, which I saw somebody point out, it's like, the shoulder injury was part of the play where he miraculously broke his own face and hand in the same time. Diving on a second down. Yes, Carr Glazers, it was a second down play. I don't want to hear anything. He thought I win the game. No, idiot. If you play, that's how we almost win the game. Anyway, that was his left hand, and he landed on his left shoulder. So I'm not a doctor, but if you land on left, it shouldn't affect right. And if it was his right, and if he's in trouble of missing the season, it's got to be a strong shoulder. So that's one thing I have to hear from the Saints organization. And every move you have made this offseason has shown that you think that you're going to compete this year in this division with Carr as your quarterback because he gives you the best chance to win. But if you knew about the shoulder injury, how come we didn't sign anybody else? You have $30 million. Why not sign an extra insurance policy? So to me, that almost seems like a crock of bull dinky that it was known beforehand. Because if it was, then it's this horrible mismanagement of this roster and this team. But here's a good thing, Joey. We're pretty much forced to rebuild now. There's no ifs, ands, buts about it. And Mickey Loomis can go crying, screaming, chewing his gum into the night all he wants about retooling or whatever. It needs to be a freaking rebuild now. But I do have to say, it is comical. Absolutely pure comedic gold. If his last play with the Saints is him falling flat on his face because he's a dumbass. and sums up the Derek Carr era better than I ever could, is him falling flat on his face. That's what he did to his organization, and Mickey Loomis has done to his organization. So now we're telegraphing our pick at 9, or we're going to roll into the season with Spencer Rattler and fucking Timu Chase Daniels as the backup quarterback. I don't get it. Stop peeing in my face and telling me it's raining. Accept the rebuild and let's do this already. Because Joey, there's other episodes where I'm like, look, I've accepted it. We're going to try to compete this year. But if it was known that he had a shoulder injury that could make him miss time, then you've lost all. I'm losing faith in this organization because there makes no sense. Of course, we need more stuff to come out, but this has been the worst free agent signing in Saints history by far. Come at me, Jarius Bird haters. I will still defend this to the day I died.
What about Brandon Browner? Wasn't he a free agent signing?
Yeah, we didn't give him $150 million either. So, and he was here for 1 year and didn't fuck up our cap room.
No, I thought he was here for 2 years. I thought he was here for more than 1 year.
Well, you may have
I'll
to
look
fact
it
check
up.
me on that
I'll
one.
look
Yeah.
But
what I'm saying is that he also didn't screw our team for 4 years. Okay. By far the worst signing. You've gotten 27 games, full games out of this guy that he started. He is 14-13. And people are like, oh, that's a winning record. So mediocrity is what we're settling for? We're paying $150 million for mediocrity? No. If you take his numbers over the entirety that he's been here, which is 17 games, Joey, he's played only one full season for us, game-wise. If you put that together, he has over 4,000 yards passing, 26 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. Cool. I'd rather kept Andy Dalton for those numbers.
To confirm, we did only have Brandon Browner for 1 year.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So the only one you could possibly put up there is Jarius Bird. But, I mean, he's a safety. It's not the quarterback position. And the way he's just rubbed everybody the wrong way. And, look, he's taking a beating behind his team. And I'm sorry. People unfortunately, you get paid that kind of money, you got to elevate the team. And you can't do that. And that's where the issue has been the entire time. So, for me, good riddance. I hope he heals up fine. He goes and has a mediocre career with somebody else. But I'm over it. It was a failed experiment. And we'll go on from there. But it is abject disaster in the way you've done. That's why I think it's all BS that they knew about this beforehand. Because every move you've made it seem like you thought Derek Carr was going to be fully available for the entire season. So when they stop lying and tell us the actual truth about it, we can actually have a full, fun discussion about this. But there's no way that they knew about this beforehand and still agreed to all this crap. I'm good.
Do you feel better?
I do feel better.
Feel better? Good.
Yeah. I felt like I was a little tame. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The tone's there, but look.
In my honest opinion, I mean, if you knew about it and you're just trying to keep your cards close to your chest, okay, but don't play it like you said. Don't piss on me and tell me it's raining. I think honestly that Derek Carr at this point, if he's healthy, is our best chance of winning at this moment.
Yeah.
So that's where you just kind of say, hey, we just kind of accept it and go on. But my biggest issue is now we're in this unknown. We're in the draft next week.
The draft is at time of recording. It is a week from Thursday.
Okay, so you have a week and a half to come up with a game plan, which they've probably already come up with. Like you don't sit there and not come up with a game plan. You don't freewheel this whole thing. But in my opinion, I think we stick with what we've got. We do the full rebuild. We improve places other than skill positions. We suck this year. And then next year we go for either a Garrett Nussmeier or an Arch Manning. I don't think we get a quarterback this year. I'm not saying Shador's not going to be a good quarterback this year, but I think there are better quarterbacks coming out of the draft next year than there are this year.
See, I'm going to disagree with you. I think this all but solidifies that we are taking a quarterback either at 9 or at 40. And and now don't forget this scenario, I could also see a scenario since we have the extra third round pick is us trading 40 and a third round pick, moving back up into the first round to take a quarterback.
Like
the back end of the first round.
a late first round pick.
And this is going to be the one that scares me. And I hope I hope I don't manifest this by saying it. But one thing that was odd to me, because they started doing the invites for the NFL green room, you know what I mean, for the draft. Jalen Milroe got one. And if you go back through the years, there's really starting to cut down on the amount of guys they have like sitting for a long time. You know what I mean? Like they don't want guys sitting there for like Aaron Rodgers or Geno Smith falling to the second round kind of thing. So the fact that Jalen Milroe is going means that there's teams that like him. And I have a sneaky suspicion
that we're that team that like him.
Now at nine, I'd riot. I'd absolutely riot if we took Jalen Milroe at 9.
There are other positions that we need to fill before we fill a quarterback position. Because here's the thing. We at least have, Spencer Rattler with a healthy line could do good things.
But Joey, he went 0-7 last year. Carr was the only one that won a game for us.
Yeah, tell me somebody on his offensive line that's worth a shit.
Or tell me about who they played. You mean the 7 teams he lost to all went to the playoffs?
Yeah.
Not to mention the fact he nearly brought us back against the Commanders.
That was the thing that when they started him, I was nervous because I feel like he's a quarterback that should have been protected because he could be a quarterback that, can do things that other quarterbacks can't. But my biggest gripe is they went with what could win us games. I'm not saying that Jake Haener can't win, but like you said,
he can't.
But if you suck for those few games and just say, hey, we know what we've got, we're just going to stick with it and do what we can, then maybe you can look at it and, hey, let's get a better pick this year. Let's get what we know we can get. But because you've won the few games you did, now we're at 9th. We could have been 3rd. And we would know our future more. But
possibly trade with Tennessee to get Cam Ward. But
yeah, or let's say you put Jake Haener out there, and yeah, he lays an egg, but you at least gave him a shot, okay? And you protected Spencer Rattler from the absolute, destruction that he was going to get from these defensive linemen.
I don't think it's that. So I don't think it. So I never saw from Spencer Rattler where it looked like his complete like confidence was ruined. Yeah, I agree with you, Joey. Sometimes like younger guys can crumble under the pressure. I think Jake Haener absolutely folded like 2-day-old toilet paper. Like he just wilted out there. First of all, he looks like a child playing with grown men. And then he got 13 pass attempts where they're just like, yank this guy. He's done.
Yeah.
With Rattler, I don't disagree with you, but I don't think he's ruined yet. But I don't mean to cut you off. Go ahead, buddy.
No, I mean, that's the thing that they talk about Baker Mayfield when he was with the Browns. They were starting Tyrod Taylor because they wanted to protect him. And that was the goal. And that's I think Hugh Jackson said it in Hard Knocks. Like, we want to protect you. We want you to be good. We want you to be great. But we need you, to be seasoned by the time we start you. And what was it, week 4? They had to put him in. So you lose that protection. You lose that, we could take care of him kind of mentality. So it would help the Saints if they can protect Rattler as much as possible so that he could get the experience. He could see the game from another point of view as opposed to, okay, just throw him out there and on the job training. Here we go.
I definitely think there's a case to be made where it's a case by case basis, right? Like, or there's honestly a case to be made that guy sitting, like you're saying. Like now that I'm thinking about it, because look, Pat Mahomes sat for an entire year. Josh Allen, I don't think started right away, if I'm not mistaken. I know Lamar didn't start right away. So most of these guys, but here's the other thing, caveat. We got Joe Burrow who started right away, but he also got injured and basically had to sit for an off season.
Well,
It's a case-by-case basis, I think.
some organizations, their hands are forced. Like, the Bengals drafted Joe Burrow because they didn't have a quarterback.
Yeah.
The Kansas City Chiefs had a quarterback. Alex Smith was a good quarterback when he played for Kansas City.
Playoff team.
Didn't Alex Smith get San Francisco to the playoffs the year that they went and they switched him for Colin Kaepernick?
So he was the starter, and then they switched him, I think, on the bye week to Kaepernick, and Kaepernick kind of left it. But they weren't a bad team. It wasn't like they were 1-5. They were legitimately like 6-1 or something like that when he made the switch.
So, sometimes it's just, teams have, an embarrassment of riches. They just have so much that they can do that's like, hey, who do we put in?
So what you're saying is that if we have Tyrod Taylor or Alex Smith on our roster, the young rookie quarterback is almost guaranteed to succeed.
No, it's like
I'm just being facetious because you look at Justin Herbert was Tyrod Taylor. I'm pretty sure Josh Allen replaced Tyrod Taylor as a starting quarterback. It's just stuff like that. I'm saying is all I'm making a joke of.
If Drew Brees was around when we drafted Spencer Rattler, like let's say Spencer Rattler came out, it was Drew Brees' last year, right? You're learning from a Hall of Fame quarterback right there. So all that does is help you. You soak that in like a sponge the best you can. But sometimes you just get lucky in a way where, hey, this rookie quarterback's really great. You throw him out there. Oh, yeah, he is really great. But that's not every quarterback.
No. And that's what I'm going to get your opinion on. So I see some people that are like, don't draft the quarterback at 9, but because, there's not one worthy of taking it. Look, it's just the circumstance we're in right now, right? The Saints didn't do a good job planning it. There was rumors that they liked Penix last year, but it's just rumors right now. My thinking is you got to take a swing early, okay? Because if you go look at the historical data, there's not many guys that aren't drafted in the first round that make it. Like there's exceptions to the rules all the time. But my hope is if they don't love a quarterback, they don't take one, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And then take your swing later on or trade back up in the first round. But at 9, you have a chance to get a premium position. Now, I will say, if they draft Shamar Stewart out of Texas A&M, I will break things. I do not want a guy. It's almost like a Mickey Loomis, we got to look past the results bullshit line. I don't want a guy who has 4 career sacks that we're drafting in the top 10 to be a premier edge rusher. Like, I understand sacks aren't everything, but dude, you got to at least have some production. And I'm sorry. I mean, probably shouldn't say this on air, but there's times where I make I love looking at these comments in the video sections and stuff like that, where people are like, I saw one guy's like, yeah, stop drafting athletic guys. And there was a comment right underneath it. And the guy goes, oh, Jari Evans, Jimmy Graham, blah, 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 all this stuff. And he's like, Alontae Taylor and Brian Brzee. And the guy underneath him just goes, yeah, can you name somebody before 2016? And yes, I understand Brian Brzee and Alontae Taylor were on there, but they haven't exactly been superstars either. Do I need to go on? I laughed so hard at that because we've been so soured as a fan base. You know what I mean? Like, there's just so many bad picks we've made that it's hard to have faith in the team. I mean, what do we got to go back to 2017 to be like, dude, go back to the greatest draft class the Saints probably ever had?
We got to stop living in the decade prior. We're in a new decade.
That's what I'm saying. So we'll see where they go. I know they like to have the mentality that it's a big man's game. So I would not be shocked at all if we go offensive lineman. Like, I would love to see Will Campbell. You kick Fuaga over to the right side. Mm-hmm. You have Will Campbell start at left tackle for a long time, or if he's a guard. I don't care about taking a guard at 9. You plug him at left guard and you solidify the left side of your line. That would be my pick if you're not going to go quarterback. But
so I'm looking at PFF's mock draft by trying to see who did it.
Probably Trevor Sycamore.
It doesn't say, but in this mock draft, they have so you mentioned Will Campbell. They have him going 4th to the Patriots.
Yeah.
Another tackle, Armand Membo.
Yep.
From Mizzou. They have him going to the Jets. They have the Saints picking Jihad Campbell the linebacker from Alabama.
I don't hate it. Look, we
I
need
feel like there are
everything.
better. I feel like there are better picks you could make. Not knocking, Campbell at all, but you need offensive line, you need defensive line, you need defensive backs. We need a wide receiver because I hate to say it, I don't know that Chris Olave is going to be long for this team with his injury history, especially
Also,
with concussions.
We have small, fast guys. We need a possession receiver.
Ted
Anyway,
McMillan, the guy you're high on, they have him going to Carolina, the pick right before us.
Pick right before us.
Yes.
I've said that on previous episodes too.
Yeah. So you have that. Shamar Stewart, they have going to Green Bay at 23.
Yeah.
And then I guess we're doing a bet of how many quarterbacks is going to be drafted in the first round.
I forgot what exactly was. I said 2, and Shane has 3.
This says that 3 will be
okay.
Cam Ward, number 1 to Tennessee.
Hold on, I got this.
Okay.
21 to Pittsburgh is is Sanders.
Yes. Are you looking at it right now?
Nope.
Okay.
Nope,
Who's the third quarterback? And when do they get picked?
All right, it's going to be late. Does this have trades in it or no?
Yes.
Okay, so that's I'm not going to be able to hit the team or the pick, but I can say the player. I mean, you got it. I mean, Dart is the obvious one, but I could definitely see Shuck being the one thrown in there as well.
So it's with a 32nd pick.
Yeah.
The Cleveland Browns are going to select Jackson Dart.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, like I said, I could see a scenario where that happens, right? Where the Saints could do that. Because if you want that extra year, right? But you want to know a fun fact, though, just to kind of lighten the mood a little bit. Tyler Shuck, the Louisville.
This was Mason Cameron on April 7th. So this is before the Derek Carr stuff.
Yeah. So there's probably a quarterback at 9 now, if I had to guess.
I'm looking for a more recent.
Well, why you do that? I am going to say that, fun fact, Tyler Shuck, the quarterback for Louisville, who's going to be a rookie this upcoming season, is older than Trevor Lawrence, who was drafted in 2021.
Jesus.
And well, the way that happens is the COVID eligibility rules, right? I think this is the last little bit of that trickling out. But yeah, Joey, do you find anything else? Any other mock drafts, real quick?
I didn't find on that. I found this one by Yahoo Sports.
Okay. Because there's one other thing I want to cover before we wrap it up for today.
It's the one you didn't want, Shamar Stewart at 9.
Yep.
With Ted McMillan going to the Jets. Let's check quarterbacks. Cam Ward going number 1. Shador going to Pittsburgh.
Yep.
So they don't have us getting a quarterback.
Well, let me ask you something real quick. I know how I feel about it.
Mm-hmm.
The name that's still out there, because people are thinking, okay, we'll get a rookie and probably a veteran to back him up, right? If Carr's out for the rest of the year. I heard one where it's like, oh, we just signed a veteran quarterback. You know the name that's still out there? The ayahuasca king himself.
Aaron Rodgers is going to retire. They're not going to no.
Dude, no. I don't want it. But also, as a Pittsburgh Steelers fan, I would be so mad. Just like, dude, just sign. Like, just sign. Because to me, it just seems like you're waiting to make sure they don't draft the quarterback in the first round. That's exactly what it seems like to me.
NFL Network published their mock draft 2 days ago.
Okay.
By Gennaro Felice.
Okay. Maybe.
At the number 9 pick, Shador.
Okay.
It did say, after publishing, NFL Network insiders Ian Rappaport and Mike Garafolo reported that Carr's availability for the 2025 season is in question thanks to a shoulder injury, with the quarterback considering surgery. So he published this first, and then the news came out.
Oh, well, I thought Shador was a possibility at 9, regardless if Carr was there, because the thought would be.
I know one thing. This pick is going to be highly watched. for sure.
Oh yeah. I think so. Here's how I feel about Shador. It's been well known. I don't like the arm strength.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like. There's some stuff like he takes some sacks sometimes that he probably shouldn't. But you can't knock the high completion percentage, the anticipatory throws. You know, it's more along the lines. I'm going to have to trust Kellen more to develop him. But I don't hate the pick because it's going to have to be somebody that has thick skin that is going to be willing to take a beating for the first few years, probably.
Absolutely. That's the biggest thing. You have to be willing to take a beating, and
we're rebuilding it here.
Yeah.
Whether the front office wants to admit it, we are rebuilding this team. So I do want to. Is there anything else you want to add about the Saints quarterback thing before we kind of wrap this up?
No, wish us luck on that. That's all I got to say.
Yeah. So not to bring down the podcast, I do want to bring up something that was unfortunate that just came out this morning at the time of recording. Condolences first and foremost to the person that lost their life as a result of the Carr Lacey accident, car accident. I want to send out thoughts and prayers to them. I also want to send out thoughts and prayers to the family of Kyron Lacey. For those who don't know, it's being reported, or it's been confirmed that he passed away, but it's being reported that it was I'm trying to say this in the most sensitive way.
Self-inflicted.
Self-inflicted. And for those who don't know, he was facing a charge of negligent homicide by vehicle for an incident that happened, I think in 2024. Unfortunately, the person did die. But in a sad situation is like, and it's all around where essentially 2 lives were lost here. And, you know, it's really sad, not because of his athletic ability or play style, which he was a phenomenal LSU, but it's just more of the human being and this unfortunate circumstance and night has brought an end to 2 lives prematurely. And we just want to send our thoughts and prayers to their family. Yeah. Like I said, thoughts and prayers to them. Nice little moment of silence. I didn't mean to do that at the very end, but I know we're coming in hot at the beginning, but I did want to throw that in there.
No, yeah,
it's just a shame all around.
You don't want to see it with somebody that young. Actually, you don't want to see it at all.
Yeah.
I hope that his family members can find peace, and some kind of light can happen in their life for the next couple months, because I know this is going to be rough. That's a hard thing to go through.
Yeah.
So
and just remember, if anybody's out there that's listening to this has those kind of thoughts or feelings, it's not permanent, guys. Reach out, get some help. People are out there that care about you. And yeah. So with that being said, we're going to wrap up this edition of I'm not even going to play the rock song to end us out on this one. But we're going to say thank you for joining us for another episode. And we'll be back next time with the Daywalker himself, Shane O'Mac. But this is Tyler signing off. Joey, let's tell the people goodbye.
See y'all later, guys.
Take it easy. Peace.